All right. Good morning, folks. Today is Wednesday, April 27th. Welcome to First Things First, Simply Cyber's daily morning cybersecurity threat briefing. I'm your host, Gerald Auger, and over the next 30 minutes, I'll be delivering the top cybersecurity news of the day and providing expert analysis on each of these stories. What it means to you as a practitioner, or if you're looking to break into the industry, we got something here for you. Spicy hot takes coming at you. Shout out and thanks to this stream sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions. Listen, cyber criminals have stolen your company's data and derailed your business operations. Barricade Cyber Solutions will help you resolve this ransomware attack and get your business back on track. Gotta love it. Eric Taylor and the group over there at Barricade Cybers, they know what they're doing. So if you find yourself in a pinch, you might want to have them on speed dial. I want to remind you, if you hold professional certifications in our industry that require CPEs, guess what? First Things First is worth half a CPE per day. It adds up, 2.5 a week, 10 a month. So be sure to document. Literally the easiest, and I would argue the most enjoyable way to earn your CPEs. Just drop a comment in chat. If you ever get audited or called out, you could just pull up the replay and be like, what? If you're live, love it. I see you guys queuing up, all 31 of you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Good morning. Happy hump day. And if you're catching on replay, thanks for catching the stream. You know, it's consistent, spicy hot takes coming at you in a nice 30-minute, tightly packaged, digestible, consumable little nuggets for you, okay? If you want to dispense with the pleasantries, you're in luck. People on replay, you can just grab the timer, scrub all the way to the right, and when that little thing right there, you see that timer? When that gets to 0, we will be starting the show. But for those of you who are live with me right now, for the next 2 minutes and 28 seconds, I'll be welcoming you all into stream because I genuinely appreciate y'all being here. Hey, Patrick. Hey, Not Only IT. I saw you with first comment. Hey, Carrie, Terrence Billingsley. What's up? Hey, Shane Simmons. Good to see you in chat. Shane Simmons up in capital of South Carolina, launching an internship program that looks very, very promising, very robust, and I definitely love that. I chatted or I posted about it on social media if you guys are interested. Live in South Carolina and want to check out an internship in cybersecurity. Ms. Julian, good to see you. Mark Lester. Hey there, Jim. Jim Lunn, Ryan Spishak. Good to see you. Mark Scott. Hey, Usha. Cybersecurity Central. You know what? Cybersecurity Central. I almost wore my Cybersecurity Central shirt today, but I am playing on stream Red versus Blue right here, and this is at 11:30 today. I will be the red team, so I had to wear my red team gear, right? Had to wear my Black Hills Red Team gear to represent. I'll be taking the role of a social engineer, breaking in physical security into a oil and gas plant and attempting to destroy their HMIs. I got the what's up, B-Sec and Kimberly? Hey, I got the soundboard up and running, guys. You ready? You want a little taste? A little taste? Oh yeah, we've got like no audio issues getting up in here.
Straight cash, homie.
Oh, all the classics are here. Straight cash, homie. Obviously, we got our spice up in here. Little throwback. Yeah. Unmistakable. Get those gold coins, Mario.
I'm a crypto event.
And then old Finfrock.
Love it.
And I've got an infinite amount of sound effects. I had a lot of time to mess around with the sound effects. I want to give a shout out to, I believe it's Kayla Matthews. There she is. Kayla Matthews, thanks for the squad support. Always appreciate that. You guys keeping First Things First and Simply Cyber trucking along. So, hey, Christopher Word was on stream with me yesterday. I am the captain from Captain Phillips. I definitely need that sound effect. I'm going to start a list right here, guys. Excuse me while I document my little journal over here. I am the captain sound effect. I definitely need that one. I got to get some MK Mortal Kombat toasties up in here. Let's see, Cyberhound Tech. And Stuart, I started my journey in cyber. Not sure if I should use my real name, my blog, or my hacker in the public space like YouTube. Oh, real quick, just to answer that question on whether or not you should use an alias or real name. On LinkedIn, use your real name. If you do use an online moniker, like a good example is Pink Draconian, Live Overflow, IPSec. A lot of times it's on the offensive side that you'll see people using kind of online handles. it's just kind of part of the hacker culture. But as long as you can associate the two, it's a good idea. I definitely wouldn't use a like alias that isn't a legal name and just like, oh, I'm Tom Jones or Tom Pine or whatever. Like that's probably not going to work long term for you. But that's the rules of the road with that. All right, guys, the time has come for us to dig in. For those of you who are new, we are going to cisoseries.com to listen to the cybersecurity headlines from David Spark and his gang. Genuinely appreciate what they're doing. So your choices are go to cisoseries.com and run it yourself, or sit back, relax, and let's dig into the smooth sounds of this show.
It's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Elon Musk's Twitter takeover could be bad for security and privacy. After this week's announcement that Twitter has accepted Elon Musk's $44 billion purchase offer, cybersecurity experts fear that Musk's open source vision for the platform may make it more susceptible to malicious actors. Experts are expressing concerns about open source vulns such as Log4Shell, and also the potential for gaming the algorithm to treat people differently based on their personal characteristics. Additional concerns are being raised by privacy advocates regarding Musk potentially implementing real name policies overriding anonymity and pseudonymity, which protects the identities of those whose opinions do not align to those in power.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, this is part of the reason why Elon Musk opened his billfold and pulled out a $44 billion bill. This is going to be really interesting, guys. From at least in, I don't know how Twitter operates or what its impact is in the greater non-United States. I know that Turkey used it quite a lot during the revolution a few years ago. So I know it's pervasive globally. But with Elon Musk taking over, his goal, guys, like trying to keep this just a cybersecurity conversation. Check this out. He has said a couple things. Like one, he wants to get rid of spam bots. That's admirable. I love that. Two, he wants to open source the algorithm on how how things go viral and how amplification works and how reach works. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know that Twitter, has done shadow banning. They suppress certain, which means like basically limiting the reach of certain accounts and certain agendas, certain keywords. So it is a free speech platform-ish, but it is got the agenda of those in charge. And then there's the whole thing with the advertisers and advertisers wanting a certain kind of platform to advertise on. So we'll give you money. So then they were kind of configuring it with the advertisers in mind. All this is to say, this is part of the reason Elon Musk took it over. Now, the other side of this from a security perspective is, if you release the algorithm for a public analysis, people will find vulnerabilities in it and exploit them. It's human nature, or at least our society, not our society, our industry, to dig in, find vulnerabilities, exploit them for our own benefit or our clients' benefit. So expect that to happen. I'm actually really, really curious from a nerd perspective to see kind of the first time something ridiculous goes viral. Do you remember? I mean, this isn't exactly a 1-for-1, but I don't know if you guys remember, like in the earlier days of Twitter, I want to say maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, like someone took a picture of an egg. It was like stupid. It was just an egg picture. And like almost as a meme, it went viral and it blew up as like the #1 tweet on Twitter for a minute. And it was just a stupid egg, right? So that wasn't exploiting a vulnerability in the algorithm. It was everybody socially agreeing that they were going to exploit the amplification algorithm. So it's kind of been done before, but he'll go open source. I think that this will be both good and bad. There's got to be rules to this thing, though. This can't turn into 4chan. So we'll see.
Stormus ransomware targets Coca-Cola. On Tuesday, Coca-Cola admitted that some of its systems were potentially hit by a ransomware variant, but says it's still investigating the incident. Meanwhile, Stormus Ransomware Group released a statement that it had stolen about 161 gigabytes of data from Coca-Cola and is intending to sell the data if its ransom demands were ignored. Coke announced last month that it is withdrawing business from the Russian Federation because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which some are speculating could have precipitated the attack by Stormus gang, who have been trying to make money through supporting Russia's political agenda.
I'm not familiar with Stormus as a threat actor group, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of different threat actor groups. So they got 161 gigs of Coke. They mentioned that Russia Coke pulled out of Russia, but I don't know if that's completely related. Simply because like everybody pulled out of Russia, so it would seem weird that they would target just Coke. You know what always cracks me up with these large companies? Like I get it that they're large and they want to handle crisis the right way, but like they admitted that some of their systems were hit by a cyber attack that could be ransomware, but they haven't officially like come out and recognized it. It's like, dude, you got ransomware. You have like the actual ransomware threat actor group has already released a statement of what they have with evidence that they have it. You got hit with ransomware. So I don't know why you're like dancing around the topic. This is pretty standard. So the only thing I'll say about this is more related to ransomware in general. It's called the double extortion technique. It's quite popular with ransomware threat actors right now, where they steal your data, encrypt it, and they can sell you the key, and they'll sell you the rights to not release the data, or they'll sell the data to someone else. And either way, the threat actors are getting paid. Sometimes they double dip. And there's different reasons for this, different insurance, policy things that will activate certain policies, etc. So the double extortion technique is quite popular. Conti ransomware, famously known for kind of not launching it initially, but making it quite a popular technique. So yeah, anyways, sucks for Coke. Secret formula's out. Although I saw it on Discord, people talking about what the secret formula was. It was just basically regular cola and cocaine. So I joke. Obviously, that was what it was at the turn of the century.
U.S. offers $10 million reward for help locating Russian hackers. On Tuesday, the U.S. Department of State announced it is offering up to $10 million to help locate 6 Russian GRU hackers who are part of the notorious elite hacking group called Sandworm for their alleged role in malicious cyber attacks against U.S. critical infrastructure. All 6 individuals were charged with conspiracy to conduct computer fraud and abuse, wire fraud, damaging protected computers, and aggravated identity theft. The Department of State released the names of the 6 individuals and has made a Tor site available for submitting tips about the threat actors.
Can we just take a minute and like recognize how great, like, look at this artwork, dude. That's sick. That's like that movie Tremors, except like a Michael Bay version of Tremors. Look at this. This is awesome. And then, obviously your FBI poster. Pretty sweet. So we have seen this multiple times. This is really interesting too. Check this out. The U.S. Department of Justice, or Secretary of State, State Diplomatics, whatever. It's the Department of State. They actually have a dark web URL for soliciting information, and they have a Signal, Telegram, and WhatsApp. Very interesting. Like, okay, so this is the first time I've seen this. Maybe this was like a common thing, but check this out. I would like to recognize and applaud the United States federal government for actually being thoughtful about how to connect with people in the community who would have information of this. I feel like 99 out of 100 times, this would just be like a 1-800 number or a like hot tips at FBI.gov. And instead they have Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp, and a dark web URL. Brilliant, because this is the people who have information on Anatoly Kovalev probably are more likely to use these mechanisms than they are to use traditional email or phone number or something like that. So kudos. Oh, they even got a QR code there. Yeah, get some QR code action. So kudos to them. They do have a phone number here so you can get to those WhatsApp and stuff, and a tweet. Can you imagine tweeting them, like publicly tweeting them, like, hey, I have information on these guys. Final thing I'll say on this is not uncommon. $10 million is pretty motivating though, but this isn't uncommon for the Department of Justice to release indictments. I've seen it before for Chinese nationals, Iranian nationals, etc. So it's not uncommon. You don't often see them get scooped up and brought in because they're in countries of no extradition, or the hosting country won't help, basically. But this is the first step to be able to do that. So definitely an interesting first step. I like it.
Google Play launches its own privacy labels. On Tuesday, Google Play officially launched its own version of privacy-related labels for apps following a similar move by Apple. The company plans to roll out the new Google Play data safety labels to users on a gradual basis ahead of the July 20th deadline, requiring developers to properly disclose the data their app collects, if and how the data is shared with third parties, as well as the app's security practices. The labels also give Android developers an opportunity to explain why they collect the data, how it is used, and whether the data collection is required or optional.
This is cool. This is really cool. I'm just kind of popped in here really quick to see what it actually looks like versus what that story said. But yeah, this is nice. Guys, I really feel like in 2-3 years, we're gonna be telling our children or our next generation, like, oh, you would never believe back in the day, like, app developers could put in anything, keyloggers, location tracking, anything, and you had no idea. Just like, it's funny that they use nutrition labels as the quote unquote term to make it relevant and understandable, because back in the day, you could literally put like arsenic or cocaine into food products and you had no freaking clue what was in it. And then eventually the FDA, I think, came out and said, you have to put it in what is in these things. And then it came out and the market corrected itself because people were like, I'm not eating lead. Thank you. Can we do something about that? So these nutrition labels are going to be so commonplace in the future. We already see it quite a bit with, at least on Apple devices, where it's like, oh, this app wants to track your location, or like this calculator app wants to see your entire contacts list, which is disgusting, right? So good on Google. I mean, obviously they have one of the 2 largest app stores in the world. So requiring it is pretty dynamite. It says privacy only. It would be cute. Like, I'm curious if this is exclusively privacy or if it can expand a little bit to things that wouldn't be necessarily privacy. Kind of like on Apple, we see it like, oh, this app wants to run in the background. This wants to run all the time, etc. Maybe having some information around how much battery life the thing is sucking down. Whatever. This is cool. I'm very, very happy with this.
Thank you to today's episode sponsor, Fruit.com. That's www.feroot.com.
Just throw a fireball real quick in
Huawei
there.
drops $22 billion into R&D to beat U.S. sanctions. China's largest tech giant spent $22.1 billion on research and development in 2021, which equated to 22.4% of Huawei's sales last year, which by proportion outpaced all U.S. tech giants, nearly doubling that of Amazon and Google-owned Alphabet Inc., and more than tripling that of Apple. Only Meta came close to rivaling Huawei's R&D spend ratio, coming in at 20.9%. This steep R&D investment highlights Huawei's efforts to free itself of American tech, from which it was barred after Washington accused Huawei of jeopardizing U.S. national security and imposing sweeping sanctions, which wiped out nearly a third of the company's revenue in 2021. Turns out hackers...
Hold on. I wonder if I just missed a story when I was queuing these all up this morning. No, I didn't. This is the same story. All right. So this is interesting. Unfortunately, I don't feel like what the speaker was saying kind of maps directly to this, but it's talking about gaps in the 22-year-old CVE system. So CVE is the system that we use to classify how bad a vulnerability is. And we've talked about this on the stream before. It's like, it could be a remote code executable, non-authentication required, and there's an active exploit in the wild. This is kind of like the 3 worst things that can happen. There's 3. So, and then there's like, you require local access and you have to have privilege escalation already accomplished, right? So a little less exciting. What the story goes in to say is that they're arguing that given the pervasiveness and the further adoption of cloud, that the CVE system is actually kind of broken. And the argument that they're making is because that the CVEs are it said it in here a second ago, that CVE tracking numbers to vulnerabilities that end users and network admins can directly manage. So like me up here saying, patch your phone, patch your, hypervisor, et cetera, like that. And their argument is that the approach is broken because cloud management is kind of pushed over to the vendor or to the cloud hosting provider, not the end user or the IT infrastructure of the organization supporting it. So when a CVE is discovered for something, who's supposed to fix it, and are CVEs being discovered for cloud platforms, and how are they being disclosed? Now, I would argue that, I mean, there's been plenty of Amazon bugs released, but it's usually like misconfigurations and stuff. You don't see too much of, in fact, even in the AWS um, uh, terms of use and agreement, like when you start spinning up infrastructure and stuff, it literally says that you're not allowed to hack it. So they would have to, yeah, thank you, Josh. I'm not 100% sure, but um, I can't click on that. But anyways, I'm giving you, like, I guess this is like a bonus story about this CVE system being broken for clouds. It's an interesting thought exercise. This is an interesting topic to discuss, like on a panel or something like that. Thank you.
Have to fix bugs too. This past Friday, EmoteC launched a phishing campaign that included a malicious password-protected zip file that, once clicked, launched a Visual Basic script containing a static shortcut name which differed from the name of the actual attachment, causing the script to fail. Unfortunately, EmoteC fixed the bug Tuesday and has once again started spamming users with malicious emails containing shortcuts that now reference the correct file names, allowing the script to complete successfully.
All right. So EmoteC's back. EmoteC, nasty bit of kind of initial infection malware. But you know what? This just highlights that, bad threat actors, make typos and spelling mistakes too. And their installer was broken, basically. So even if they were successfully penetrating you, their installer wouldn't work. They went ahead and fixed it, obviously. One interesting thing is it'll drop additional payloads like Cobalt Strike. Cobalt Strike is a post-exploitation framework. If you want to work in the red team, right? Red team. If you want to be on the offensive side, you should be aware of Cobalt Strike. It's kind of like the perennial superstar post-exploitation framework. It does have a legal application, but threat actors often use it for the same reason, just whatever. Fun fact, Conti Ransomware Group actually has a legal license for Cobalt Strike. It's been discovered. They paid some organization like 30 grand to buy it for them. But anyways, EmoteC's not new. It's certainly effective, which is why people continue to use it, threat actors. So make sure that if you are responsible for protecting an organization, make sure that the whole kind of defense in depth stack is right? So your EDR is tracking for EmoteC. They said that it's an email attachment, right? So make sure your email gateway is checking attachments. This is such like I don't even know the efficacy of this attack vector anymore. I feel like it's more hyperlinks drawing you to like a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder and then pulling down payload. But whatever, people are working, this attack is working. So very interesting. You can see here, classic fish, right, for EmoteC. Please see review attached. There's no real information. It's a zip file, which means your email gateway is unlikely to be able to identify it as malware. That's another technique used by threat actors. They get the password here. So this kind of looks legit. I mean, obviously, I can't see the sender, but, forward with no subject line. It's just a lot of ambiguity here. So hoping that someone will open this up because it's payment info to get more information about what the heck is this? What's it related to? I'll just take a quick look. And in reality, they're infecting themselves. Not good.
Which disrupts UK Army recruitment. British Army officials shut down their computerized enrollment system in mid-March as a precaution after the personal data, including full names, dates of birth, addresses, qualifications, and previous employment details of more than 100 Army recruits was found up for sale on the dark web. While access to the recruitment system has now been restored, the Army continues to rely on its emergency backup methods to recruit new soldiers as its online recruitment portal is still not functioning. Candidates visiting the recruitment page are greeted with the message that the service is currently experiencing some technical issues and advising them to dial a dedicated phone number with any questions.
Well, I was going to make fun of this story initially, but I don't want to, I don't mean to marginalize this or trivialize it, but only 100 individuals' information was compromised, which is a pretty small number when we're talking about PII compromises. I find it interesting that a British Army online recruitment portal was the target of an attack. I don't know, like, it seems kind of like small potatoes, right? Like, I mean, the people who are putting their information in there aren't even necessarily in the army yet. So what's the value of targeting those individuals? Maybe, I don't know, Chad, if you got any thoughts, I'd be curious. Like, what's the value as opposed to targeting a system that has like the actual army individual information? Maybe it's to steal their information and then be able to impersonate them and get access to army stuff if they do become an army soldier. I don't know. This is classic incident response, though, just so you guys know, right? The portal got taken offline probably because they couldn't figure out. They probably, on the server hosting that portal or the infrastructure hosting that portal, they probably didn't have very good security tooling on it. As I've said in the past, when you get an incident, the first thing that incident responders are going to say is, where are the logs? Let's look at the logs. And if you don't have logs, you have no idea what's happened, what is happening. And the easiest way is to just shut it down, right? Pull the plug on it, especially because this isn't a mission critical system. So it is a major decision on whether or not to take something offline, production system offline. Another famous, basically huge decision that CISOs have to make is whether or not to shut the internet down. Shut the internet into an organization down, because a lot of times threat actors are doing C2 traffic and data exfiltration, etc., over the internet. So if you pulled the internet off, you cut off that communication capability for the threat actor, but obviously you nerf your entire organization's capability to do online stuff, including cloud, API calls to third-party services and stuff like that. So it's a big decision. It can have dire consequences. If you've been a fan of Simply Cyber for a while, you may have heard the story I've told about dealing with an incident and pulling the plug on the internet, and then it almost resulting in a patient having the inability to receive care for a stroke in my prior history. So there can be dire consequences on making that decision. It's not just that you can't go watch Netflix for a minute.
Firms push for cloud-focused bug system.
Oh,
A growing
I already
number of
covered this
security
story.
Firms are highlighting major gaps in MITRE's 22-year-old common vulnerability and exposure system, which does not adequately address cloud flaws, which could impact millions of apps and backend services. The current CVE identification system only assigns CVE tracking numbers to vulns that end users and network admins can directly manage. Cloud researchers Elon Schindel and Shir Tamari acknowledge that while cloud service providers are taking measures to quickly address bugs, the process of identifying, tracking, and assessing risks needs streamlining, highlighting the need for a cloud vulnerability database, though there is still the outstanding question of who would run it. And
okay, so it looks like CISO Series kind of made a mistake where they put the wrong link in. So on the fly, I basically assessed and then provided my update on the story. So I won't do it again. But Josh Mason, one of the mods, great guy, has provided a link to the Huawei. I always have a tough time saying that story around this really quick. We did hear it, but if you give me just 10 seconds, I will provide a hot take on this thing. Huawei pumping $22 billion into R&D to beat U.S. sanctions. Okay. So Huawei is one of the bigger, if not the biggest, Chinese tech giant. So think of like Google for China. It's not exactly the same, but they do have their own phones. They do have all their own stuff. The United States has put, as far as I know, a sanction around Huawei product. Either you can't use it in federal spaces or you can't use it in the United States. Someone correct me or clarify for me if you know for a fact, because I'm not 100% sure. There's been some speculation around Huawei products having built-in backdoors, eavesdropping. There was that famous Bloomberg article. Oh God, what was it? It was like this tiny piece of rice-looking chip that was supposed to be on a bunch of servers. Whatever. I don't even remember the story. It was a big story. Sorry guys. It was a big story a couple years ago about, and it was never really validated that they had put a little special backdoor chip on all of the servers in the that were going out to the United States. All right. Let's see. They're saying that the true value of Huawei lies in R&D. I guess all I would say is Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion, and we thought that was an insane amount of money. Huawei is spending $22 billion on being innovative, on being cutting edge. So if you look at spending increases over the last 5 years, Meta spending a lot. You could see Facebook Meta is obviously investing heavily into Web3 and VR and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised. I do find it interesting that the story talks about $22 billion in R&D, and then Huawei is below Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess the story here is, even though the fact that sanctions are holding Huawei from being in the U.S. market, they are making money hand over fist, and they're obviously investing in R&D. Good for them. All right. That's gonna do it. We didn't have a lot of sound effects, guys. I still kind of feel for the still got to feel for the sound effects board here. I don't want to just do them for the sake of doing them. You know what I mean? Want to remind everybody later today, if you're feeling saucy, if you're feeling spicy, come join me and a couple other people who always love showing up for the streams at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be doing a live cyber simulation using the ThreatGen Red versus Blue platform. It's going to be fun. We did kind of a wild Renegade live stream yesterday afternoon, and it was a lot of fun. So come hang out. Clint will be there. Thanks, Annalyn. You have a great day too. Come hang out with us, and it'll be a good time. Tomorrow is Let's Stream All the Cybers Thursday from 8 to 8:30. We'll be doing First Things First, like we always do. And then at 8:30, Josh Mason's going to be doing his resume reviews live. So if you need a resume review, come check that out. You're going to get a lot of value. And then, of course, guys, Simply Cyber Live, the weekly Thursday with expert analysis. We're digging into Conti ransomware gang, looking at their TTPs and stuff. I've done a lot of research. I read all the Krebs stuff on the Conti leaks. Very interesting stuff coming out of there. So I will be talking about that. And Dave Klein will be talking with us about some more of the technical things. So very interested, very excited. I hope you can join us for all of that. Guys, it's been Wednesday, April 27th. First things first. Had a good time. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. And for some of you, I will see you at 11:30. Cheers, everybody.